Hi everybody, thank you for tuning in to another video on TK's Tech Corner. Today we're going to be comparing a few different controller options for Android devices, and you may or may not have seen one of my last videos on the new Razer Kishi V2 controller, which is here, and I explained the main reason why I bought this was that it now supports a device like the Fold 3 because it's got a more sort of open-ended design versus the Kishi V1, which had a more closed sort of design, which suited smartphones like this, the traditional sort of smartphone, but larger format phones like this where the fold opens up. Didn't really support it, unfortunately, and even in closed mode you've got a problem because the fold is a lot thicker when it's closed than a traditional phone, and therefore something like this just would not work. And I did test out other controllers before the Kishi V2 was out, such as the GameSir X2 here, and I've got the Bluetooth version and the USB-C version here. And what we'll do is we'll just compare them all, and we'll also take a look at an option to use something more traditional like this. So just an original Xbox controller which is Bluetooth compatible. This one may not be. It's my original Xbox series. No, it's not in the Series X. This is the Xbox One Day 1 controller. It was released in 2013 and I got this on release date, and I like the controller, so it's still there. So this here on attached to the controller is Moga's Power A Xbox gaming clip, and this just clips onto the controller there. As you can see, exposes the charging port if you need to charge the device while you're playing, and this gives you, I guess, as close as you can get to using traditional controller on the Xbox, because you're actually using the original controller on the Xbox to play your Game Pass or Xbox streaming, for example. So very good option if you're at home. Portability isn't really an issue. Something like this might just do the trick, right? Why go all out and spend all the money on these things when you've got your controller at home and you can buy a clip for 10 or whatever it costs, 15 quid. And it does fold. It does kind of, you don't really have to keep taking this thing on and off all the time. I think it kind of folds out of the way enough so that if you're using it with the Xbox without the phone on it, you can still get away with it, right? You don't really need to worry about clipping it on and off all the time. And again, because the charging port's exposed, no biggie, right? So there you go, that's another option as well, and we'll see how that works, right? I'm going to put that aside for now, and let's just come back to this. So as you can see here, I've got the Fold 3 in, and I've got Xbox Game Pass fired up. I'm not going to test any games because I've already done a video testing this controller and I think it's fabulous. I know some people have left comments in the comment section below regarding the the small analog sticks, the Switch style analog sticks potentially being a drawback. In my opinion, no issues there, because as I said, I've spent probably over 200 hours gaming on the Switch, both in portable mode and in docked mode, where I have the Joy-Cons connected to the actual the Joy-Con, the sort of remote adapter they give you with it. And I'll be honest, I have no issues with the comfort on the small analog sticks whatsoever. Thumbs sit comfortably on them and you can just game away, right? So that being said, let's compare this Kishi V2 to some of the other controller options out there, and let's see what this is. So just before I take this out, notice the way the phone sits in the Kishi V2. The phone sits on the lower part of the device, so it's effectively hanging off the bottom of the device because the C port here is on the right hand side, and so this is the only way I can really put the phone in. If I put it the other way, it'll be upside down. So this is your this is what you're going to get, right? You're going to get the phone in this sort of a format, unfortunately. And it's not that bad because when you're gaming, you're kind of holding it towards you, and the fact that the weight is going down, in my opinion, is better than the weight going up, and I'll come to this device in a minute. So overall, this is quite comfortable, and I have spent some time gaming on it, and even after some good length of gaming, I've been playing Halo 5 on it, and honestly, Halo Infinite, no issues at all. The analog sticks work great, they're responsive, and all sorts of other stuff there as well, right? So I've just got into Teams there, I've just exited that quickly. So I'm going to go ahead and take this out now. Now the way you take it out is you take it out from the C port first, because this doesn't have the neat and nifty trick that the GameSir X2 has. So I'm just going to go over to this controller. Let's compare these for a second, right? From a size perspective, they're roughly the same. This overall takes over more surface area. Nice thing about this though, when you buy it, is you get a nice hard carry case with it. So there's the carry case that comes with it. Device clips into there, doesn't slide around, and it's it's a hard case that your controller is fully protected. This does not fit in this case, as you can see. Well, mind you, it does, but it's a bit of a squeeze. You can see the analog sticks are getting pushed in there a little bit, right? So I don't know how I'd feel about that, sitting in the case with the analog sticks being pressed in for that period. Probably wouldn't be too comfortable with that, so I wouldn't be using it. Let's just put it in upside down and see if that fits. That is probably an option. And it does close, so yeah, actually you could use this case for the Kishi V2 if you have it. It fits in upside down absolutely fine. Let's get the case out of the way. So the C ports, first thing you notice here is the C port on the GameSir X2 is on the left hand side, and the C port is a lot better than this one, and I'll explain why. So what you'll notice here, if I'm moving this around, is this C port, right? It's flexible, see that there? It tilts up and down, and it also slides up and down. So this supports devices of different thickness, and getting the device in and out a lot easier than something like this. This is a completely rigid fixed port. There's no flexibility in this port whatsoever, and I think this design by GameSir is probably patented, and I'm guessing other people probably can't copy it. So you see it there, right? It's really flexible. And let's just stick first a traditional smartphone in there, right? This is not charged up at all, but look what I'm doing here. I'm putting the phone in C port first if I want to, right? And it's in. Now that fits perfectly. It even works with the case. Now you can see I'm able to move the phone up and down a little bit. If the phone was a bit thicker, no problem. If the phone was thin, you know, it still doesn't cause any issues there whatsoever. So from a fit perspective, this is better, right? This is better than this in that the C port is flexible. And I found that the connectivity on this with a case was always better than this anyway, right? Because this one, I've actually had to remove the adapters that they had on there on both sides to allow me to use the Fold 3 properly with the case on without it disconnecting after a little wobble, because there wasn't a full connection there. In this one, you don't really have that issue. Now, I can't remember if I had the issue with the Fold 3 or not though, so we'll test it again because I haven't used this one in some time. So I'm going to smooth this out now, and I'll get, now again, look at that. I can take this side out first, right? And I don't have any issues getting this off because of that flexible USB-C port. Well, I say that, but I'm just going to pull it out. It's connected so much into the phone that I've actually had to give it a good tug to get it out. You can see the C port there is a lot longer. That does support using a device with a case without any problems. The C port on this one is not as long, and maybe if I can hold them up side by side somehow, you may just be able to see that. The C port on the GameSir X2 does protrude a bit more than the one on the Kishi V2. So there's that. And you could see how well it went in because I had struggle getting it out. So now just go ahead and put the Fold 3 in this device. So now the reason why I bought these was initially for the Fold 3 because it was the first option I saw to use and you can see it's working straight away there, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and unlock that. And you can see with the case on without any issues whatsoever, it's connected, the blue light has come on, and I'm ready to fire up Xbox Game Pass just to show you that the controls are fully working. Right, there we go. Absolutely fine. The difference with this one, a couple of differences. One difference is it's top heavy, so when you're holding it up like this, not a major issue, but you do feel the weight going back a little bit. In this regard, I think the Kishi V2 is a little bit more comfortable, probably for longer play lengths. And I guess the main downside on this, and not major for every game, is the X2 does not have analog triggers. So these triggers are digital. They do feel very nice, right? They're very responsive. They've got some very nice micro switches. Maybe they're using the Cahill micro switches like the X3 does as well. I don't have the X3 yet, but when I do get it, I will do a review to compare the two. But they're not analog triggers. Again, might not be a deal breaker for you, right? Depending on sorts of games you're playing. Sometimes it is a big deal, sometimes it's not. So there you go. Other than that, I'll be honest, this is a very capable controller. The analog sticks are nice, same sort of size as the Kishi V2. They're a tiny bit smaller, the caps are a bit smaller. I think these are a little bit more comfortable. From a clickiness perspective, you get a good response out of them. They're a little bit lighter from a clickiness perspective than these, maybe because I've used them a bit more, and maybe because this is a bit more fresh, who knows. But there you go. And the Bluetooth one, I'm going to come to this in a minute. I've got a problem with this, right? But I'm going to still talk about that for a second. Now, so that's the X2, right? Other than that, absolutely fine, works absolutely fine. And the benefit of this is, I think this one, if I remember correctly, worked with the PlayStation app as well, where the Kishi V2 did not. So I was able to, I'll have to sign in there, so I'm not going to bother now. It's signed out. This did not support me using the PlayStation remote play, if I remember correctly. I think this did. So because it's not signed in now, I can't test. I'm not going to go and sign in now. But there you go. So it might be easier if I take it out. So you can see I've got it out there. Again, the flexibility on this port makes a big difference there. If I tilt it all the way up there, you can see just how flexible that is, right? You can get your device in and out without any issues. You can take out whichever side you want because that thing is fully flexible. Really good design there. And it's the Bluetooth controller, which was one of my favorites. There's a tiny little lag on Bluetooth, which you're not going to notice all the time. The big benefit of the Bluetooth controller was this thing used to sit 100% in the center. Most balanced controller I could find for the Fold 3, until I had one major problem, which is the battery's messed up. This thing no longer holds charge. If I want to use it, I've got to plug in a power bank while I'm using it, and that for me is a big deal breaker at the moment. And as you can see there, I'm hitting the power button. This was sitting on charge before I recorded this video, but the battery is completely dead. It uses a small battery on the corner here, and it's similar to the sort of batteries you'd find in those cheap RC helicopters, for example, quadcopters. And it's probably not difficult to change, and I can probably buy the battery, and maybe I will do a video in the near future of me effectively stripping this down and getting the battery changed just so that I can use it again, because I really did like the fact that it was very balanced with the device like the Fold 3. With these sorts of devices, again, you're probably better off just having the USB-C one, because you don't need to worry about charging it and stuff, and the devices fit central anyway, right, as you can see right there. So that's that. Other than that, this controller is identical to this one here. The only one significant difference between the two, and I did point this out when I recorded the video of these, was the A and B and the X and Y buttons are in a different layout. So the Bluetooth one had the same layout as the Xbox controllers did. So you can see A, B, X, Y there. And if I hold it there, you'll see that. Where the USB Type-C one had a different layout. There you go. So you can see that there as well. That was the only real difference between the controllers. Other than that, exactly the same. And really good, comfortable controllers, because they've got the grips, the soft sort of grips on the back. Your hand sits nicely on it. You know, you've pretty much got a full back there, right? Even when the device is in there, and your fingers have got somewhere to rest, you've got something to grip. So for long gaming sessions, very comfortable. May even be more comfortable than this. But I mean, this is to be honest, it's one of my favorites right now, because with this one your fingers kind of tuck in on the back there once the device is in, and the spring load is very nice on both of them anyway. So no real difference there. So let's compare them to the Kishi V1. Kishi V1, absolutely great controller, to be honest. If you've not got the Fold and you're still using traditional smartphones like this, is there really a need to upgrade? No, you know what, there probably isn't, because this ticked all the boxes, right? It has slightly larger analog sticks, which again for me wasn't a problem. I didn't like the sponginess of the buttons, I must admit. The buttons felt a bit soft to me, a bit too much travel on the buttons. Definitely not as good as the Xbox controller, and you know, not a deal breaker maybe, but is there any real need to upgrade if you're happy with the button, you know, the buttons and the way they feel? You still got your analog sticks, which was nice. Any real reason to upgrade? Nah, probably not. It's just up to you, right, if you fancy something new. From a portability perspective, this one wins, because this one, as you can see, once the device is out, folds up a lot smaller, so it uses a lot of space in your backpack or however you're traveling. You can see that compared to all of them, right? It's a lot smaller. So if you're going for portability, you can probably get this in your pocket. In fact, I know you can get it in your pocket because I've put it in my pocket before. So this is probably winning the portability game at the moment. And the nice thing about this one was this is the Xbox version of the Kishi V1, so it actually had the Xbox guide button on it, and it had the same buttons as on the new Xbox controllers where you had the menu button and the screenshot buttons. So that was nice. Not a fan of the D-pad on this one. I prefer the D-pad on this one. The switches are a lot nicer, and I prefer the switches all around on this one, including the analog triggers, a lot lighter, a lot quieter, and overall feels a lot more precise. And then you've got the two little programmable buttons on the top there as well, which the V1 didn't have. Again, that's not a deal breaker, that's just a nice to have, right? So let's go on to the Xbox controller then. So what's this all about? Now, first thing to note is it's not going to fit larger devices. So this clip, unless they release a new one, is not going to support something like the Fold 3. However, it is going to allow you to put your phone in and play using your full Xbox gamepad. So if you've got a traditional phone like this and you're getting it in there, you can lock it in, and there's a couple of advantages to this, right? One is, once it's locked in, is you can bring this phone closer to yourself, right? So, oh, I haven't locked that in at all. It does lock in, I promise you it does secure. There you go. It secures properly, right? Is you can get that phone really close to you. So you've got the controller there in the background, right? And this thing is close to you. It's close to your face, so you're getting a lot closer to the action there. And from a comfort perspective, right, you can move this forward, backwards. You can get this to a weight that you're comfortable with, right? So it feels balanced to you, whether you like it, you know, top heavy, bottom, or right in the middle. You could really balance this thing out however you want, because this is adjustable on 2 points, right here and here. So this moves this way, and this moves the phone forward and backwards. So you really can get this balance, very balanced, and very comfortable. You can go for closeness versus comfort, and honestly, it's so dynamic. This clip is, and it's cheap. It's cost effective, right? Because there's no tech in there. It's just a plastic clip. So why should it cost that much? Look at that. That is balanced. I'm holding that. It's not going forward. It's not going backwards, and I can see the screen perfectly, right? So that is very comfortable to play with. If I was playing, and I have used this, to be honest, I've used it previously, very comfortable to play with, and you know, you can't really get better than an Xbox controller. So if you're gaming around the house, you're sitting on the couch, this is probably a good option, to be honest. And it's very easy to get the phone on and off there, as you can see, right? As I said, the clip doesn't have to come off. The clip can stay on there, and you playing Xbox with the same controller isn't a problem at all. Do I like it? Yes, I do. It's cost effective, it's comfortable, it's as close as you're going to get to playing Xbox on your phone with an Xbox controller. So, I don't want this video to drag on for too long. I have tried to cover off the main pros and cons of these controllers as quickly as I could. Just to point out quickly again, as I said, this clip doesn't allow fitting a device larger. The Fold 3, when it's open, if the fold is closed, however, you can actually get the device in the clip, and it does hold it. Yes, the phone is a bit heavy, but the clip is strong enough to hold it, and as you can see there, you can game with your Fold 3 on this clip without any issues there, right there. So you can have a little gaming session there. Only your screen will be a lot smaller than a traditional device like this, but you know what, it's an option, right? You can't write it off. The clip does give you that option to use the Fold in the closed mode. So there you go. On that note, I would like to thank you very much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, please leave a thumbs up. If you've got any questions, please ask them in the comment section below. If you haven't already done so, please don't forget to hit subscribe in the bottom right hand corner, and I'll see you on the next video. Thanks for watching, take care, and all the best.